You know guys, I'll admit that Driving Game Month hasn't really gone the way I expected it to. I was supposed to receive a review code for Gear Club Unlimited 6 days ago, but Microids ran out of review codes to give me one, so I'm just kind of stuck in waiting for whenever they get their extra codes in. I can still buy it if they don't get any new codes in, but I really wanted to have my review out by now. Honestly, I wanted to have my review out several days ago. Not to worry though, because I do have a racing game for us to talk about today. More on the retro side, inspired by Horizon-based racers, here is my review of Horizon Chase Turbo for the Nintendo Switch. Horizon Chase Turbo is what I like to call a Horizon racing game. It's got a 3D perspective, not a whole lot of draw distance for the actual racetrack, and you're going through extremely high-paced races, where that shortest draw distance is constantly spawning the next part of the racetrack, calling for lightning-fast reflexes, because by the time it loads that next turn, you're probably going to already be inside part of that turn. In other words, imagine a modern Top Gear 2 or modern Outrun game. When it comes to game modes, the only thing you've got access to when you start is World Tour mode, the game's campaign mode. As you progress through this campaign mode, you're going to unlock the other modes. Tournament mode that lets you do circuit races, endurance mode that lets you do consecutive races and see how long you can keep winning, and then you've got playground mode, a set of constantly updating and changing challenges that is exclusive to the Nintendo Switch and Xbox One versions of the game. These modes are nice things to do on the side for fun, but World Tour really is the meat of this game. When you're going through the campaign mode, you've got 12 different regions of the world that all have sets of races for you to go through. As you progress through each region and go through its races, you're going to unlock upgrade races, new vehicles, and new regions. This is done via the in-game currency. Most races and regions are unlocked once you reach a certain threshold of medals, so the better you do on your races, the quicker you're going to unlock content, and that's especially important for upgrade races. Every region has one, and winning these races gives you upgrades to apply to all of your cars. Now, one of the big things here is that winning races isn't all you're doing. Yes, you're trying to aim for first place, but you're doing a few more things in this game than you normally have to worry about when you're playing a racing game. In every stage, there are dozens of tokens littered around the raceway, as well as fuel pickups. And yes, that means exactly what it sounds like. You run out of fuel as you race, so you gotta get those pickups so you don't run out of fuel and stall out to be disqualified. And both of these pickups are tied to your scores at the end of races. The more tokens you get and the more fuel you have when you finish, the more extra gold medals you're going to get towards unlocking more content. Now let's get into the actual racing. Despite looking and feeling like an arcadey retro racer, there is a slight bit of realism when it comes to all of the cars. Every single vehicle has its own stats, like top speed, acceleration, and handling. And a lot of these cars do handle, compared to the others, like their real-world counterparts. When you drive a Lancia Stratos, you expect it to take curves like a dream and really lack when it comes to straightaways, and it's exactly like that in this game. It is one of the best cars when it comes to handling, but really on the lower end when it comes to straightaways, and you realize that all of the people that were right behind you are passing you by unless you start putting in nitrous. Now this game's racing style takes a lot from the old Horizon racers, and part of that is the turn assist feature. When you approach turns, there's going to be a certain level of turning that's going to happen whether you turn that analog stick to turn or not. You're going to have to put in your own input, but it definitely helps with how extremely fast the pacing of this game is. And that's really a big thing, both with the game's racing and with what I like to call the bump system. Horizon Chase Turbo expects you to have lightning fast reflexes, giving you mere seconds of notice before you realize that you're about to go around a turn, and to give you a lot of incentive to never bump into or hit the other cars. When you bump into another car, it's like bumper cars. You literally bump away from each other instead of just scraping each other's cars. If you hit someone in the back, they're gonna go forward like they just hit the nitrous, and you're gonna go back like you hit the brakes. And when someone hits you on the side, you're gonna bump away from each other sideways. which makes the game very, very frustrating, especially considering there is a very big crash feature in the game, where if you bump into something right outside of the road's boundaries, you're gonna crash, see all these people rushing ahead of you, and have a few seconds before you can control your car again. And I've had more than a dozen situations where I would be trying to pass someone, they'd bump into me, I would go into the wall, crash, and then 3 or 4 people behind me would bump me right back into the wall, and I would crash again. It's a big lesson in making sure you have fast and accurate reflexes all the time. Now, how does all of this come together in terms of content? World Tour Mode has a little over 100 races and a little over 30 cars to unlock, so there's a good amount of stuff to do. Now, in terms of time, if you do well and never have to repeat any races, you can probably get the game done in about 5 hours. But if you have to redo some stuff, like I had to a lot, it might be more along the lines of 6 or 7 hours. Still, 5 to 7 hours isn't really a lot for the $20 price tag. There are other game modes to do, but it's really not going to be that big of a time sink. Now let's talk presentation. When it comes to graphics and when it comes to the music, this game is gorgeous and pretty amazing. The visuals aren't quite cel shading, but they have a very, very cartoony style to them, and they look flawless both in docked mode and handheld mode. All of the environments look smooth and perfect, all of the cars look smooth and perfect, and the music really fits the retro theme well. Now when we get to performance, we've got an issue or two we need to discuss. Now the frame rate doesn't have any problems, the stability has problems. I've had this game freeze on me and crash on me more times than I can count. There have been days where I would retry the same race over and over again, and 6, 7 times in a row it would crash every single time, be it from the menu selecting the race, in the middle of the race, or at the very end of the race before the game has a chance to save. Granted, I still got through the entire World Tour mode and unlocked everything, but my view on the game quickly changed from, is it gonna crash today, to when is it gonna crash today? Now let's get out of the negative portions and talk about battery life. This game doesn't have quite as much battery life as I was hoping it would be, but Horizon Chase Turbo has a battery range of 3 hours and 13 minutes on high settings, up to 4 hours and 2 minutes on low settings. It's still pretty good, even though I expected it to be a little bit higher. Now, in conclusion, Horizon Chase Turbo is a fast-paced racing game that is taken straight out of the 80s, but given a modern facelift. Now, it does have some crashing problems, and there's not really an overwhelming amount of content here, but if you want a modern Outrun-like game, this is a fun blast from the past. Reviews to Go rates Horizon Chase Turbo for the Nintendo Switch a 7.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, or head to the website at reviewstogo.com.